A lot of 30 somethings are really making moves. We are not afraid to pivot. Hello, beautiful people. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my channel. I am Darla, and you are tuned into The 30 Journey. Here, we're on a faith and fulfilled journey through our 30s, and I'm so happy you decided to join me for this video today. All right, fam. So in this video, we are talking about 5 things that you start focusing on in your 30s. Okay, so you can start focusing on these things prior to or even after, but I do notice a trend with people who are really in their 30s kind of realizing that these things are starting to be more important to them. So that's why I kind of wanted to make this video, because there's a common theme across the board. I watch a lot of interviews, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and it's a common theme amongst a lot of 30 somethings that these things start to kind of become more important to them as they transition into their 30 journey, or they transition into their 30 something. So I did want to share these things with you guys, and if you are interested to find out what these 5 things are, please keep on watching. So the first thing is spiritual roots. So I've explained to y'all already on a few videos about my call at 30. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that I was born again at 30 years old. Going into my 30s, I really knew that I really wanted to be more spiritually grounded. I didn't know where my relationship with God was at that particular time, but I knew it wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I think a lot of people share that same thought. And personally, I don't think that's anything that you should really force. I think that's something that you should allow to happen organically, and you should examine that part of your life and start figuring out, what should I do? And come to God humbly and just ask Him if that's the route that you want to go. Ask Him humbly, like, God, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? Because personally, I can only tell you great things about really just submitting to God and allowing Him to lead you. I truly cannot express that enough. The beautiful thing about having a relationship with God is He will always meet you where you are. Always. Getting grounded in your spiritual roots can also mean about learning about your history as well. But I think the beautiful thing about my journey is the fact that it was more so of me learning who I was as a child of God first, and then kind of learning a little bit more about my history and my heritage. So that's why I will always recommend that allowing yourself to be led by God is the best way to truly understand who you are, where you want to be, who you want to be, and continuing to allow yourself to be open to be spiritually grounded in what it is that you believe in. So another thing you start to focus on in your 30s is your career and your finances. I'm noticing that a lot of 30 somethings are really starting to do what I think is so awesome, and that's pivot. Even though you may have gone to college for one thing, you start to realize that that's not really my purpose, even though it may be a good passion of yours. And I think it's so beautiful to see a lot of 30 somethings not be afraid to go and step out on faith when it comes to entrepreneurship and just pivoting and moving into a whole different direction from what they may have been doing for a very long time already. I think a lot of us in our age group now, we're so focused on making our family proud, so focused on, making a certain amount of money, and just kind of being fed the whole American dream structure. And personally, from the very beginning, I can be honest with y'all and tell you that going to college for me was always a great thing, because I wanted to do this because so many people before me didn't get the chance to. But I knew deep down that I did not know exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I love numbers, I love finance, but I knew I wanted to be a businesswoman. I just didn't know exactly what that meant and what that looked like for me. But I also knew that I was a creative. I just didn't know what that would look like for me either. So it was just like, what career choice would I even be choosing when it comes to the things that I'm passionate about and that I love, and then also be able to make a good income to support myself. And I think a lot of 30 somethings kind of battle with that, especially our 80s babies and our millennials. We're seeing so many things kind of open up for us to show us that, this way is not the only way. And I think that's really awesome that right now, I think a lot of us are in places where we are in our careers, but we're in our careers able to support, ourselves while we focus on the things that we really want to do. And I think that's so awesome too, because we're not afraid to take that pivot. And like I said, also your finances, you start to realize what's most important as well. You really start focusing on how am I spending my money and what am I spending my money on and what's going to make the best investment. It's so many different things in that aspect that you really start to put into perspective. And I think that's so awesome, because that is also tied to wisdom. So one of the things that I think is so interesting, and I kind of go into this a little bit in another video, is that when it comes to finances and leaving a legacy behind for our children, what will be the point of doing all of this work and making sure that we're leaving great things behind for them if they don't have the keys, the knowledge, or the wisdom to be able to sustain it? It doesn't make sense. And I think it's so important that a lot of us start realizing how we're spending our money and the best things that we can put our money into and invest into, and to not be silly and be fed, like I said, the American dream over and over, and realizing that it is only to keep you and get you further in debt. So understanding your finances and really focusing on those things that are really important in that aspect is something that really starts to happen in your 30s as well. And I think it's great that it's at that particular age, because like I said, you're old enough to do better and you're young enough to be able to clean up a lot of the mistakes that you've made in the past. Okay, so another thing you start focusing on in your 30s is health and wellness. So I know y'all seen the memes about the 30-something knees. The knees. It's a real thing. I didn't really think it was a real thing until I tried to drop down and get my eagle on in 2020. Drop down and get your eagle on, girl. Drop down and get your eagle on, girl. And it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. But this is a real thing, y'all. Like, it is so important to make sure that you are focusing on your health and wellness during this decade of life. It is so crazy how so many 30-somethings look amazing. Like, 30s didn't look like this when I was younger. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm being biased because I'm here now, but I don't recall your 30s looking like they look. And I think that's because we're realizing also how important health and wellness is. And I love that we're actually starting to realize too a lot of the stuff that's going in our foods and different things like that, and trying to stray away from that and live more healthier lifestyles. So that is another thing that you start focusing on in your 30s, because me personally, I'm gonna let y'all know, a lot of the stuff that I do for myself, I'm doing it for my future family. I'm doing it so I can still be active and great with my kids. I'm doing it so I can still be very flexible for my husband. I'm doing it so I can do all of these things because those are things that are very important to me. Another thing that we focus on more in your 30s is relationships. I'm not just talking about the standard relationship with, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. I'm talking about the friendships, also the partnerships. I'm talking about so many of those different relationships that you have with people, and they start to become very important to you, and you want to make sure that they are strong and that they are healthy. And I just saw an interview recently that Issa Rae did, because they were talking about, you know, everything that's going on Insecure right now when it comes to friendships and different things like that, about how she was just saying how it's so interesting that for a lot of women, when it comes to, you know, friendships and losing good friends, when you start to outgrow them, it's like a breakup. And I'm like, that is so true, because sometimes you do have to break up with your friends. And that's why these things are so important, because you know that the people that you have in your life, even though they may have been there for I don't know how long, it's important that you have people that you can truly rely on, people that are healthy, that are not doing things that are toxic, but also allowing you to be your best self as well, because you are the sum of the people that you surround yourself with. I think as 30-somethings, we have to realize how important those friendships, those partnerships, those relationships really, really are, because especially if you have children, trust me, they are watching you. And when you are not surrounding yourself with the type of people that you want to be like, you definitely start to allow yourself to become like who they are. I love the fact that so many people are taking this seriously, because it is a real serious thing. Because really understanding who you are as a person is very important, but even more than that, understanding who you want to be is important as well. And if, like I said, you are not surrounding yourself with people who you really want to be like, you're not allowing yourself to really grow and blossom. Like, I don't want people around me that are just always like me either, because at the same time, that doesn't allow me to grow. It allows me to stay in that space of where I am, no matter how great I might think it is. Still want to make sure that I'm able to be very multidimensional, and I'm able to adapt to a lot of different environments. And especially in business, you definitely want to be able to do that as well. All right, y'all, so the last thing to focus on in your 30s is to live. All right, y'all, so this is just big for me personally, because I can get so wrapped up in business and work and things that I just want to continue to work harder in and achieve for myself, and I don't take the time sometimes to really just live. I've said this in multiple videos with you all, because this is something that honestly I'm reminded of all the time. And I just thank God for that balance sometimes, because he really has to pull me out of a lot of things to remind me to really just live. Oh, it's so funny, because when I used to work at the bank and I used to have to deal with customers, you know, face to face, I used to have to deal with older ladies all the time. I used to love dealing with some of the older ladies. This one older lady, she used to come in all the time, and she usually comes in on Monday because she would have to bring deposits in and different things like that. She would come in and always ask me, how was my weekend and different things like that. Did you do anything fun? And this and that and the other. And every time I would tell her, no, I just chilled this weekend or something like that, she would always say, you better enjoy it. Enjoy your time now. Enjoy it. Don't waste this time. And she would just be so adamant about it. It was almost like she felt as if she didn't do it at one point in time in her life, because she would always tell me this. And it's something that honestly just sticks with me, that I just have to make sure that I am continuing to live. I know a lot of us have partied a lot in our 20s and different things like that, but that does not mean that you have to be a bump on a log every weekend in your 30s. I'm just saying, just make sure you continue to push forward, to do the things that you love, to celebrate the people around you, to continue to stay connected to people, and to continue, like I said, y'all, to live. So beautiful people, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do not hesitate to give it a thumbs up. It always helps. Also, subscribe, join the fam. We would love to have you here. Like I always say, no cover charge over here. Always, fam, remember to keep God first and to stay winning spiritually. Peace.